The meeting started now.
That's great. Thank you, Jane. Right, good afternoon and welcome to Schools Forum. I'm Dave Jones and I'm chairing the meeting today. Members of the public are invited to view this meeting online and the meeting is recorded. Forum members are requested to keep your camera on during the meeting, but only turn on your microphones when you wish to speak. If you have any questions or comments to make on the reports, please use the chat function and simply state RTS request to speak. Officers and observers, please keep your cameras off until you are called to speak. And then I'm just going to ask everyone if they can confirm they're present today. Simon Graham.
Present.
Cher.
Present.
Welcome back. Jack Jones.
Present.
Ruth Warswick. No. Sean Preston, I believe, has given apologies. Joe Cooper.
I'm here.
Nis has given apologies, I believe. Nathan Waits. Nathan not here yet. Christian Down. No. Nick Giles.
Yeah, present.
Thank you. Sharon Burt.
Present.
Councillor Tom Coles. Councillor Kimberly Barrett, I believe, has given her apologies. Don't know. Councillor Chris Dyke. No. Teresa Cole, I think, has given apologies. Heather Smith has also given apologies, as they're here. Okay. Sarah Daly. Mike Stoneman.
Yep, present.
Hi, Mike. Angela Mann.
Present.
Alison Edgerton.
Present.
Susie Horton.
I've had apologies from Susie.
Okay. And then observers, I think we have two observers today who are possibly going to become LA maintained reps. So we have Karina Jacobs from Wimborne.
Hi.
And Becky Herbert from Cumberland Infant.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, thank you. Okay. On to the agenda then. Alison, apologies for absence.
So I've got the following apologies for absence: Nis Hardingham, Teresa Cole, Heather Smith, Councillor Barrett, Sean Preston, and Councillor Horton.
Great, thank you. And then Alison, update on declarations of interest.
I think I've got the following declarations of interest outstanding: Nick Giles, Christian Down, Teresa Cole, and Heather Smith.
Okay, and several of those are new, so they're just in process, aren't they?
Yes, they are. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Dave, just to mention that Kate Mullen is also in attendance, one of the officers as well here today. So.
All right. Yeah, thank you. I should have asked if there's anyone else. So thank you, Mike, for that. Okay, item 3, Alison, membership.
Okay, so we have got the following new representatives: Cher Dahl as a primary maintained governor representative, Teresa Cole as a post-16 representative, Heather Smith, an early years representative, and Sharon Burt, a Solent Academies Trust representative. And welcome to those of you who are new, and welcome back to those of you whose tenures are continuing.
That's great, thank you.
Okay. Sorry, I was going to say we have 2 membership tenures that are due to cease just after the next meeting in December. Sean Preston and Joe Cooper. Both representatives have offered to stand again, and I have written to Primary Academy Trust to update them on the position. And we have a number of vacancies. We have one primary maintained head teacher vacancy, which I'm hoping after this meeting will be filled. One secondary governor representative, one secondary academy representative, and a Conservative Party representative. And there are total vacancies.
Okay, thank you, Alison, and so welcome to everyone who's new, and also then thanks to everyone who's staying on. Okay, normally at this point we would have the minutes of the last meeting, but as they weren't published with the agenda, those are going to be taken forward to the next meeting of Schools Forum in December. So therefore we're going to move on to item 4, which is LA maintained school balances, and over to Alison again, I think.
Yes, thank you. So this is an annual report to Schools Forum to report the year-end position of the maintained school revenue and capital balances at the 31st of March 2024. Section 4 of the report details the year-end position of the revenue balances, showing that balances overall have increased by just over 1.3 million. Whilst 10 schools have seen an increase compared to the 6 we had in 22-23, 8 schools have seen a decrease in balances. 4 of those schools have got balances which are in excess of 10% of their budget share and are not of immediate concern. 2 schools have been contacted and their actions are detailed in section 5 of the report. 1 school is in deficit and the council has agreed a deficit recovery plan with that school. And then the remaining school is due to convert to academy status, and the authority is monitoring the balance of that school as part of the conversion process. In addition to those schools with reducing balances, the report also looks at schools that have got excessive balances. And at the end of 23-24, 2 schools had uncommitted balances that were more than 20% of their budget share. Schools have been contacting, asking for information regarding their balances and the reason for holding them, and the responses are detailed in the report. Capital balances are detailed in section 6 of the report, and there has been an increase overall of capital balances. This mostly relates to a large capital project which has been undertaken by one of the secondary schools. It is recommended that Schools Forum note the contents of the report and the level of maintained school balances at the 31st of March 2024, and the monitoring action being taken by the council. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions, comments, observations? Share. Oh, you've just muted yourself, Share, I think. There we go.
I have, yes, sorry. I put an RTS through before and it didn't seem to work, but okay.
I think I might have just missed it.
Sorry, so maybe later we could come back to, I had something that was linked to the last meeting that I wanted to ask about. Could we do that in AOB?
Shall we just do that now, and then
get it out of the way? Sorry.
Yeah, okay.
I sent an email because it didn't seem to get anywhere. I just wanted my governing body had made inquiries about the EHCNA recovery plan. And I saw from the report delivered at the last meeting that there was a plan to have a working group set up in the autumn for for the Schools Forum to ascertain views from us about the emerging process. And I just wondered if there was a time scale on that, since we're now halfway through the autumn. Oh, I can't hear.
No, that's okay.
Sorry, I was on mute. My apologies. I think it's probably best that Mike Stomont answers this because he's been one of the leads on this process.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'll come in there. I think there may be a bit of confusion there, and it's good that Kate's here with us also. So in terms of the recovery plan, yeah, we've got a very detailed plan in place, and we've been keeping head teachers informed about that and the extra resources we've put in place and how we're dealing with the backlog, etc., etc. There were no plans to set up a working group as such to support that process. What we did say we'd do is come back to Schools Forum about the work we're doing in relation to the pressures on the high needs block and the actions we are proposing to take, which we would come back to Schools Forum and heads to consult about, and potentially, I think maybe that was where the working group bit came in. So in the second half of this term, so probably the next Schools Forum, we'll be coming back to discuss that. I think that's probably the working group element. There may be some confusion there, Cher.
Okay, I guess it's because I've got two things. We had a letter. You were copied into it, so we had a letter.
Yeah.
My governing body are prompting me about this. That's why I'm asking.
Okay.
We had a letter which said there was going to be a working group that involved the Schools Forum. But so I looked in the papers last time, and one of the papers said I got it wrong. The paper says there'll be a workshop including Schools Forum members to ascertain views on the emerging process.
Yeah, that is very much to do with the work we're doing around the high needs block and the pressures on that. Obviously, the recovery plan is linked to that because...
Yeah, it said in the paper that it was the recovery plan for and the high needs block thing.
Yeah, the recovery plan is linked to that because clearly, as we get through the backlog and we get back to a business as usual state of affairs, that will have impact on the block and the revenue. So it is linked, but the actual workshop was very much about future proposals to try and alleviate the pressures on the high needs block. That was the kind of workshop idea. So we will be coming back to you about that. So sorry about any confusion with that.
Okay.
I mean, Kate, are you with me on this one? Am I reading that correctly?
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add to what you've said, Mike. I think the working group was very much about the high needs block recovery plan. The EHCP recovery plan, as you've sort of alluded to, is separate but walks alongside it in that they are both inextricably linked. But that was my understanding of that working group.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yep, sorry, that's my fault for missing your first RTS. Okay, back to item 4, the school balances. Any questions or comments regarding those? No. Okay, that seems fairly straightforward, and I think there's good support work going on. So this is just for information only, and it's recommended that we note the contents of the report. Do I have a proposer for approval of the recommendation? Anybody? I can't necessarily. Thank you, Sharon. Anna, do I have a seconder? Joe, thank you very much. So the recommendation has been proposed and seconded. I will now take the vote for affirmation of the meeting as permitted within the regulations. If there is no dissent, the proposal is passed. Are there any objectors to this recommendation? No. So thank you. So the recommendation has been approved. Moving on to item 5, the DSG Q1, and that's Angela presenting.
Thank you, Dave. The report details the forecast position of the Dedicated Schools Grant as at the end of June 2024. There's a slight overspend of 31,000 being projected, and just as a reminder, that is with the planned use of just under 3.3 million of the brought forward DSG reserve. And the details for the overspend is in the report. It's based on the fact that we do have information about a slight increase in need in the harbour, but everything else is being projected to budget at the moment because, as is normal for the end of the Q1, we didn't have the class lists. In terms of the budget revisions, we've had an overall increase in both the early years DSG and the high needs DSG income budgets. And so we've adjusted the expenditure budgets in line with those different notifications of numbers. The only slight difference is that we had a slight windfall of income of £42,000 and we've already included everything in our expenditure projections. So as a result of that, we use the additional 42,000 of income to slightly reduce the call on reserves that we had at the start of the financial year. And Section 8 and Appendix 1 sets out those proposed budget revisions in more detail. And so the report requests that Schools Forum notes the forecast position as at the end of the first quarter, and also asks that Schools Forum endorses the budget revisions that's noted in the report for 2024-25. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Angela. Any questions or comments? Chair?
Sorry, me again. I was just interested in 8.6. You talk about there being, I think, if I've understood correctly, there's 40. We received 41,000 less than we were anticipating in the Special School and Inclusion Centre area of the budget. Is that a problem for us? I know it says we can see how it's been spread out in the tables, but I just wondered if that is a challenging issue for us, really, or if we feel we can manage.
So in 8.6, it's the other way around, sorry, Chair. So we expected 41,000 to be taken off of us, and they didn't. So that's added.
Good news.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. Excellent.
So
scrap that question then.
So yeah. So we've used that to sort of to reduce our call on the reserve, because there's no. We planned for the expenditure, so the expenditure hasn't changed, but they haven't took that 41,000 off of us. So we've just used that to, like I say, reduce the call on the reserves by that amount. Whereas all the other things related to increased activity or reduction in activity. So then for those income adjustments, we've also adjusted our expenditure budgets to be in line with those numbers.
Thank you, Angela. Simon?
Can I just qualify on 6.1? Are we expecting any further overspends by the Harbour School? Because it does indicate that these costs will continue, or is that just a 30,000? Just to clarify that point.
So the so that adjustment is based on those pupils and for the full financial year, taking those things into account. And so when we get class lists from everybody, children's needs change. So then we will update the forecast based on those, and obviously there's always a big change, isn't there, in September. So people will have left in the summer, and then there'll be new pupils. So we do adjust for those sorts of things, but the Harbour submits class lists, I think, more frequently. So for the ones that we've had, we've been able to use that for the rest of the year. But yes, we will be adjusting the forecasts as the pupils change, and we're notified of their needs changing as well.
Okay, so that's it then. That's the 30,000. That we think that's going to be it for the financial year. Is that what you're saying?
No, that's just that's a point in time. So in terms of we've budgeted made on assumptions about the different pupil numbers and their needs and how much we will be paying to the Harbour, and that includes the different mainstream schools as well. They're in different budgets, so we make assumptions about all of those, and then as we get the class lists in, we compare that to our budget, and we'll be either under or over for the different schools. So the Harbour was just the information that we had at the time. That mix of pupils was slightly higher than what we budgeted for, so we've forecast that in. But for the rest of the classes, we hadn't got that information at the end of June. Okay. It's not static.
Thank you. That's more related to their banding then? So as yes. Children have slightly different banding within Harbour School, so rather than it's Harbour School overspending. It's actually the banding has changed, so
Yes,
it's
yes,
coming from the DSG. Yeah.
Yes, it's a banding for those pupils. It's not that the harbour have said this band costs more. It's the mix of the pupils and their bands compared to what we actually budgeted for.
Okay, thank you, Angela. Any more questions or comments? No. Okay, thank you. It's obviously there's not a lot of news at the moment, and obviously, hopefully there'll be, fingers crossed, some positive news in the coming weeks about education budgets. But that's just because I'm hopeful. Okay, right. Do I have a proposer for approval of the recommendation? Thank you, Chair. And a seconder, Jack, thank you very much. So the recommendation has been proposed and seconded. I'll now take the vote by affirmation of the meeting as submitted within the regulations. If there's no dissent, the proposal is passed. Are there any objectors to this recommendation? No, there don't appear to be. So thanks, everybody. And the recommendations have been approved. Right, that's the end of the agenda for tonight. So the date of the next meeting is the 4th of December. That's the end of the meeting. Thanks everyone who came along today. And we'll just wait quietly while Jane ends the live stream, and we'll let you know when we're off air.
Okay, one moment, please.